talking about, I'm going to say up front, I don't think we get right. I don't think a lot of church institutions, especially a lot of Baptists, get what I'm going to talk about right. And I'm not saying those guys get the church world or anything like that, but you understand what I'm talking about as I go along. So I'm going to talk today about heaven coming to earth, and my desire to get involved in the prevention and understanding of and the healing from domestic violence, sexual violence, came from my religious background. And it's interesting because I came from a religious background where it was all about conversion. It was all about, quote unquote, asking Jesus into your heart so you can go to heaven one day. But as a little child, while my grandfather, who was like this grand poobah of religiousdom where I'm from, back in eastern Kentucky, when he would preach, many people would be stirred by the call to give your life to Christ. And what I always wrestled with was not so much the conversion aspect of it, but I felt like, and I put up here, that I was focused not so much on conversion, but more on the actions and words of Jesus. So when I would hear conversations about, don't go to hell, I would be more concerned about, well, what did Jesus do while he was here to bring heaven to earth? You guys tracking with me? Go ahead and advance. So I started paying attention to the stuff that Jesus said, and on the left, one of my favorite paintings is Rembrandt's The Prodigal Son, and just the tenderness and the compassion of the story that Jesus tells about the prodigal son screams, I think, a lot about the ethos and character of who Jesus was. But what's some of the stuff that Jesus said that I paid attention to when I was little? Go ahead. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I mean, there's this idea of heaven coming to earth, not let's just all throw it away so we can all go to heaven. One of the things that Jesus emphasized over and over was heaven coming to earth. Go ahead. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Who is more poor in spirit than someone who's been abused, than someone who's been raped, than someone who's been violated? Go ahead. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Again, who has cried more? Who has mourned more? Who has wept more or wept more than someone who's been violated and hurt? And blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Who has a hunger for more thirst, or who has a hunger and thirst more for righteousness than someone who has been abused, than someone who has been raped, than someone who has been violated? And then Matthew 5:28. Sermon on the Mount, who does Jesus lay the onus on when it comes to adultery? He says, everyone who looks at a woman with lust for her heart has already committed adultery with them in his heart. So he puts the onus on the man when it comes to looking at a woman and violating her, not just with your hands, with your body, but also with your mind. And all of us that are involved in regards to gender issues know that a person does not act out unless that first becomes an idea or a thought, a seed in their heart, not necessarily one that has been purposely implanted by themselves, but it's the victim or the cycle of violence, something that they've inherited either genetically or biologically in regards to their family of origin or the culture they grew up in. Go ahead. What about Jesus' groupies? So we looked at stuff Jesus said. Who did he hang out with? Go ahead. He hung out with sick women. One of the interesting things about the story in Mark 5 is the woman touched him. According to Levitical law, the woman was not supposed to touch him. So he broke his own Jewish law to allow her to touch him. Sick men, divorced and hurting women. I love the story of the woman at the well. Jesus being a Jew and the woman being a Samaritan. He was not supposed to be with her. One, because she was a woman. B, because she was a Samaritan woman. C, because she was an adulterous Samaritan woman. What does he do? He hangs out with her. He welcomes her. He includes her. He hung out with tax collectors, which back in the day they were terrible to Jews, little children, fishermen, sick families. So it's interesting, Jesus, he broke many stereotypes of the culture at that time. So growing up, I wrestled with this a lot. And for me, my faith became not just about saying, hey, are you going to heaven? But it's more about, go ahead. It's more about, go ahead, hit the next one. To replicate the action of Jesus, help those suffering the hellish effects of violence, the power of presence and counsel. I mean, I feel like that's my life mission right now, is to, and I put here in essence, to do my part to have heaven come to earth. And he said, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And my passion right now is I don't want my son to be a perp, and I don't want my daughter to be a victim. And that's very stereotypical language because I also know that he can become a victim and she can become a perp. So the ethos or the onus because of my passion is that, you know, if you look at the actions of Jesus, they were very radical. They were very inclusive. They were very forgiving. They were very healing. And I'm not here to try to convert you. I'm not. And it's just, if you want to talk about my concern for violence and abuse and rape and preventing that, it's a very faith-centered thing for me. So when I look at Jesus, I'm inspired to get even more involved with some of the challenges that face our culture today.
Thank you. Those are your two kids, yeah?
Yeah,